Welcome to the AM 101 today, and it's going to be about core standards. Please keep in mind that this will be recorded and it will be available on archive. I know it's a lot of information and we're going to go through it pretty quickly, but most of you have done a cycle of this or more before, so hopefully it will be just a good refresher. And judging from last year's forms, I think some of you need a refresher. So I know this is not everyone's favorite topic, but put on your happy face. I'm going to help you get through it faster and easier this year. So just before you begin, I want you to start today. If you haven't started your form yet, start today. If you start early, you'll end early, and almost every association can knock out all this stuff before the deadline, which is December 31st. However, the deadline to get your initial one in for C.A.R. is actually December 1st of this year, but I challenge all of you to be done with it by August 31st. That's my challenge to you. Nothing happens if you're not. I just say, oh, I told you so. You saved it until the fourth quarter and now you're all unhappy. So anyway, start it early. Get a folder on your desktop, and every single time you do something that goes for core standards, screenshot it and throw it in the folder. It will save you endless amounts of time when you're actually filling out your form if you have all your stuff there. If you know the form well enough, then title it something like vote or community involvement or whatever, so that you can find that even easier, and that'll make your form go even faster. Remember, when you go in your form, it is not on the M1 platform, it's on nar.realtor. So make sure you use your nar.realtor credentials and not your M1 credentials. If you put your M1 credentials in, it's going to tell you you don't have access to the form. Just remember me saying that, because it will get you back in if you put in the correct credentials. Lastly, before you start, I would say if you've got staff that you can assign some of these to, I would assign them to staff. So for instance, if you have a GAD, assign them section 2, which is advocacy, or if you have a pro standards administrator, assign them section 1, any of those kind of things. Or if you have like a communication specialist or somebody that does your social media, then go ahead and give them section 3, which is consumers. So that the onus of this is not all on you. So then once you're ready to start, and I'm going to share my screen with you. There we go. Once you're ready to start, this is what your form will look like. Kathy Hartman graciously allowed me to use hers. The first thing you can do is, if you look over here, it says printable version. If you click on that, and this is an error, but this is why you want to get in right now. If you click on that, well, you'll get the endless circle for a while. What it actually is printing out now until they fix it is your 2022 form. This is added bonus. Go in today and print that form out. That form is going to give you a lot of your answers, because a lot of them don't change. Your attorney and who your mediators are and all of that, you can rip right off of last year's form. And then we hit our back button. So when you go through this form, when you look at it the first time, go through and fill out all of the simple questions that are easy. Anything you can fill out from last year's forms. Most of section 1 is going to remain the same. A lot of section 5 and 6 will remain the same. Go through and fill out all of that low-hanging fruit. What this does for you is it takes the angst out of having 69 questions and turns it into you've done more than half. So that's my first recommendation. It's the same thing as when you're testing. Go in and fill out the stuff you know, and then go back to the harder ones. Make sure you read all the words in the questions. There are a lot of times that the questions are more than one part. So if it says share information with your realtors and suggest that they share it with their clients, make sure that you put in the screenshot of sharing it with your realtors, and then say, please use this in your newsletters or whatever. Let's see. Don't make this any harder than it's supposed to be. I'm not saying to dumb it down, but NAR just wants to act, to vote, to invest, whatever it happens to be. You don't have to have a job fair in order to satisfy some of your consumer information. That they give you lots of examples of low-hanging fruit, and make sure you use some of them. Of course, you want to hold quality events for your people, but you don't have to overdo it on everything. And also you can piggyback on things with other associations or even NAR, C.A.R. So in order to satisfy, let's say, the fair housing requirement, you can put one of NAR or C.A.R.'s fair housing events on your website and invite on your website or social media, and invite your people to do it. So you can piggyback on anybody else's events. Once you're ready to submit, always let me know that you need your initial check on it. Don't hit the submit button. If you hit submit, it will go directly to NAR and skip over me, and everybody in your association and NAR and C.A.R. will get a notification, boom, your AE has submitted or their form and whatnot. And then if there's anything wrong on it, which there always is on the first pass, then I have to actually send it back, and then they will get a notification that you didn't pass. So we want to really avoid that. Make sure you just let me know that when it's time to look at it. So now the basics. Again, these are due for at least their first check by December 1st of this year, but you have until December 31st to finish it. Do not wait. Fourth quarter is nuts. The quality of your work will go way down, and it's going to be a nightmare, like an albatross around your neck. The consequences for not meeting core standards is that you'll have a meeting, a big hearing with other AEs from around the country and NAR, and you will have to then tell them why you didn't finish it, then actually finish and pass it, and then you go on probation until you do next year's one correctly. If you don't, you could lose your charter. So it's a really big deal. We haven't had that happen yet. And then anything that was on your 2022 form is on the 2023 form. They have not changed anything, with the exception of, hopefully, they have fixed all of the glitches that you ran into last year. So, but if you do run into a glitch, assume it's the form and not you, and let me know. Okay, now we're going to go into the questions. So question number 1 is a trick. You have to track the compliance, so the answer is always going to be yes. Question 2, do you have to have a professional standards committee? You do not have to have a professional standards committee, but you have to have access to one. So you can have an interboard agreement. Question number 3. You don't have to participate with other boards, but you can if you want. You can see Kathy put in hers what other boards they participate with. You must have access to a professional standards admin. They do not have to be on your staff, it can be somebody else, but it's asking specifically for the name of the person, not the name of the board. So enter the name of the pro standards administrator that you use. Question number 5, some people have some difficulty with this, so I want to be really clear about it. They want to see on your website where you have a link to NAR's Code of Ethics and Professional Standards. The link is in the FAQ, so just make sure that it's on your page. But the link is a link to your website, not NAR's or CAR's. Question 6 is another trick question. You must provide mediation. It's part of NAR's rules. So if you don't have a mediator, then you'll have to pay somebody, and you can't charge any more than $500 for it. Or excuse me. Yeah, that you cannot charge any more than $500 for it, or the association has to pick it up. So one way or another, there has to be some mediation service they can use, even if it's another association's mediation. Ombudsman services, another trick question. You must offer ombudsman services. The cool part of this is that C.A.R. has them, and that's what most people use. So you just say that you use the C.A.R. ombudsman hotline. And then this citation policy, that is something that not every association has, and you don't have to, but basically it's a set of rules with a set of disciplinary actions for people breaking the rules. I cannot see the chat. Does anyone have any questions? Let's see. All right, seeing no hands raised, we're going to go on to the next section, which is advocacy. Again, if you have a GAD or somebody who handles this, I would recommend giving them this section so that they can be saving things for you as we go along. Question number 9 is another trick question. The answer is always going to be RPAC dues billing above the line. It's the law in California, so you have to do that. What you have to upload in here is either the letter from Lisa Edwards last year, the email that said you did pass this requirement, or a copy of your 2023 dues billing, either one. That's what you need to use. Then 10 and 11, just hit NA and NA because you don't need to do those because you've already satisfied number 9. Then educating your members about RPAC. This is just a simple one. So if you have RPAC brochures, and this can be RAF as well, RPAC brochures, put them out at meetings and post them on your social media and whatever, and then you don't have to provide any proof of anything, just check the ones that you actually do. NAR calls for action. Okay, we haven't had any this year, but when we have them, it's mandatory that you post them. So make sure you take screenshots, and I will, I have a list of professional standards people that I send things out to. If I see one come out, I will send it to everybody so that you'll know, and then you can upload it here. And then if by the time you turn in your core standards, there are no calls for action, just click 14, no calls for action. Okay, same thing for the state. And again, we haven't had any calls to action yet. So, so you're good to go for right now. Typically when we do, it's a little hard to keep track of because they're going out by region now based on whether your legislator is voting for or against something that we have. They're not bombarding everybody. So please try to keep track of these. I do as well, and get some information from that bunch so that we can keep track of it, but definitely do these as you go along. If you happen to forget and miss one that came out, first of all, try not to miss it because you're not supposed to, but on the FAQ on question number 19, it gives you something else you can do instead. So you can recommend that your members sign up as legislative liaisons. Okay. So for the next questions, these are vote, act, and invest. And I'm not going to go through each of these individually, but I'll just give you some hints. Just remember, vote. Vote is specific to elections, encouraging people to vote, having people register to vote, supporting candidates. This is not an election year, so this is a more difficult one to fill out. I would suggest for 2 easy low-hanging fruit on this. For 1, post a voter registration on your social media. And the second thing, C.A.R. provides a really good little campaign for realtors to get their new home buyers to register to vote. And there's a link in the FAQ to that. So that would be 2 different types of register to vote activities, and will both satisfy. Elizabeth, you've got your hand raised.
I just wanted to say, Peggy, to that, another easy one is NAR will send you a list of any of your members who are not registered to vote. And I posted that link recently in the private Facebook group because it's hard to find. I literally have to go to the private Facebook group myself every year to find the link again. But within 1 day, they'll send you a list of your members who are not registered to vote. You send them a letter or an email, you take a picture of that, and you're good to go.
Perfect. That's a great activity. And again, you need these hints during non-election years because it's a little bit harder to get vote to happen. Next one is ACT. This is a huge category, and everybody overachieves it every time. So really what this is asking you to do is engage your members in real estate issues. You can distribute a link of on common ground to your legislators. You can do home ownership matters posts. You can ledge day accounts. If you post ledge day, there are a million things that you can do for ACT, but it's really engaging your members and engaging legislators to be working with real estate and realtors and real estate issues. So you can see there's billions. Okay, the last one is invest, and this is specific to RPAC and RAF. So what you need to do to get to qualifying activities, you could do an RAF fundraising effort. You could distribute RAF brochures. You can talk about RAF at office meetings or general meetings. You can talk about it at orientations. You can recognize your RAF donors. There's a million things you could do for this, and they're all pretty low-hanging fruit. Next section, consumers. Elizabeth, did you have another question or did you just forget to put your hand down? Okay, thanks. Okay, so I am not going to go through this section by section, but I do want to talk about some specific highlights here. For a number of questions, and this will be on your FAQ, it's question 21. The entire purpose of this section is to be in touch with your community, be the voice of real estate. So all of these questions, when it says to post things and whatnot, it's not asking you to post them on your social media that your realtors are reading. It's asking you to post them for consumers. So if it says, for consumers or for the media. So either one, depending on how the question reads. So read the question carefully, because a lot of times people will just put in a post about something on their social media, but it's not going out to the world. So really, it's just informing your members. And that's not what this section is asking you to do, except when it says, tell your members about this and have them tell their consumers about it. So if it says that, you have to have in the post, don't forget to share with your clients. Let's see. Question number 28 is about, and many of you already have this. So again, low-hanging fruit, you can use it from year to year. Create a consumer section on your local association website or consumer site. You need to have enough on it. It can't just be one thing like why use a realtor, but why use a realtor is a good one. But you can also put links of content from House Logics, from realtor.com, from NAR.realtor, C.A.R.org. There's lots of stuff you can put on here, but you need to have like at least 4 things as the bare minimum for that. And again, you don't need to reinvent the wheel on this. If you've already got it, just use that as one of your 2 consumers activities. And then the next section is community involvement and investment. You only need 2 qualifying events, and this is a very self-explanatory section. But the one thing that I want you to avoid is just posting you giving a check to somebody. That does not satisfy this, just writing a check. You have to have a fundraiser or participate in a fundraiser to raise the money for that check. That's your qualifying event. And then there's lots of other consumer things that you can do. You can run ads, you can share stuff on social media, you can sponsor a job fair. And if you don't already do that, don't feel like you need to go out and just break all kinds of records with this. There are lots of simple things you can do to satisfy this section. Then moving on to section 4. This seems to be the section that most people have the hardest time with. So let's start with 49. Typically, your bylaws need to be certified every year by NAR. It's a simple online process. By the grace of God, they didn't change anything for 2023, so you don't have to have your bylaws certified this year. So just put in last year's certification date. The MLS rules and regs and bylaws, if you have your own MLS, then you have to have these certified every year. Lots of people belong to regional MLSs like Barry's or MetroList. In that case, you do not need to certify your bylaws. Just let me know that you're with a regional MLS that does it. Some of the regional MLSs like C.A.R. MLS, they tell their AEs when their dates that these were certified, but I know like MetroList and Barry's do not. So just let me know if you're with a regional MLS, and then you don't have to worry about 51 and 2. Legal counsel, self-explanatory. Filing taxes, that has to be done before you actually submit for certification. So if you have a future date, you cannot use that. You don't get credit for something that hasn't happened yet. And 55 is the corporate documents. Most associations are nonprofit and as far as their filing status goes. And so this is just a link to the Secretary of State. And it's a little form that you fill out every other year. So it will have to be within that time frame in order to count. Okay, strat plan. When your strat plan needs to be reviewed every year, and when you're certifying that it was reviewed, you are also certifying that you have an advocacy component, the consumer outreach component, a diversity, equity, and inclusion component, and a fair housing component. So that you don't have to have it certified, but you must have those components in there. Then for your professional development, this is so easy peasy in California. We give you enough in the first 3 months to actually satisfy this. So the things you can use for your own professional development, and it has to be for the AE, by the way. So if somebody besides the AE is filling this out, it needs to be your AE that actually you're filling it out for. The town halls count, the AM 101s count, AEI counts, any of those, even the president's town halls, if you attend those. So you can get those 6 hours like in no time flat. And you don't have to provide any proof because we know the ones that you went to. Then 58 is professional development for your members. Everybody kills this. So, I mean, anything that you do, I would not recommend using like if you have a licensing course, because that's kind of like beyond low-hanging fruit. But if you any kind of town hall you do with somebody from C.A.R., let's say, or any kind of education that you offer, you can use. And it does want examples. Then realtor safety. Again, you don't have to have your own safety activity. You can climb on board with someone else. I have some links to different safety activities that you can find in the FAQ. So you can just, if someone else is doing one and you advertise it, that counts. Okay, leadership development. This one is a little hard for some of the smaller associations, but you can do DEI training for your people. You can even advertise, or not advertise, send out an email to your leadership that they do a DEI training. And NAR doesn't measure whether you actually get any results from it. You just have to offer it. You can educate them on core standards. You can do the C.A.R. NAR leadership trainings and a board orientation. Worst case, if you run out of ideas, let me know. I know one person came on brand new at the end of last year and they hadn't done any leadership development. So we just had that person advertise a link from NAR. So there are workarounds for all of these. 61, another trick question. You are mandated to have a policy for conducting annual reviews. And then the AE's annual review must be within 1 year of your turning in core standards. So let's just say that you turn in your core standards on August 15th. I'll be so happy. Then it can be any time from August 16th of last year until the present when the review happened. So if they get the review in December, you turn it in August, put in the December date. A DEI and fair housing activity. Again, this is the same concept as safety. You do not have to put on your own activities if you want to have one that's sponsored by someone else. NAR, C.A.R. I know Citrus puts out a lot of things that people piggyback on. Any of those will work too. Or you could also start a diversity committee or have a diversity committee, and that would already be satisfied. See, we're breezing right through this. Section 5 is kind of a joke. You just have to have a website. So just put in your URL. That's all it is. And now we are winding up to financial solvency. So this is really weird to me, but you have to, the first question doesn't have a number, but it is that you have to attach your financial policy. Your financial policy, you can probably just rip off in your from your form from last year, because unless it's been updated, but you can just use the one that you used last year, which you've probably been using for many years. And then questions, the last of the questions is your audit review or compilation. NAR no longer accepts a letter of engagement. You have to actually have this completed. Do not wait. We had a couple associations that had this done at the very last minute, and it was like nail biting to get the opinion written and get it in on time. And I know one association there, they waited to do it, and then their accountant had a heart attack or something, and so they weren't able to write the letter in time, and it finally did get out. But again, it was a total nail biter. So don't save it until the end. And that it ends this part of it. So back to me. So just a couple of last things. Remember, please do not share, do not hit send when you think you're done. Make sure it goes to me first, please. And then after that, you can hit send and it will be off and I'll approve it and you'll be done. So everyone can do this by August, right? Yes. I know some AEs that have dozens of things in their files already. So anybody have any questions now? You can unmute if, let's see if. Yes, Rachel, you will have access to this recording for fair housing. Yeah, the template for the fair housing thing for your city council, Elizabeth Breen has that, but I think I sent it out in an email. I will make sure that you get it. I think I might have sent it out in an email. If not, I will, and it'll be in this.
I think you did, Peggy.
What's that? Any other questions? Okay, nothing? All right, you guys, I want to see those forms open. Oh, Donna, go ahead.
Good morning.
Morning.
I was just wanting to make sure I understood. So if we have, like, we do a buyer's seller's guide every year. So that qualifies for the consumer part of it, a consumer outreach. And then we did a like a contest for RAF. Would that qualify for both the fundraiser for RAF and I don't know what, promoting RAF? Would it be 2 and 1 or just the one?
No, you can only use one event for one thing. So that brings a really good point up, Donna. So no, it cannot count for both. The only things that can count for both are DEI and fair housing. You can use twice, but that's the only one. This reminds me that a lot of people for vote last year please go out and vote. Here's the date. Here's the polling information. And here is the link to register to vote. All in one email, all in one post. It only counts as one. So if you're going to do multiple posts like that, try to separate them so they count as 2, if that makes sense.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Sean. Oh, thanks, everybody. Okay, well, if nobody has questions now, that's fine, but please start it now. I'm like begging you to start it now because honestly, December is so, so busy for everybody. It's busy for me too. And so it just makes it easier if you guys are piecemealing these in. So try to shoot for August. If you want to be an overachiever, shoot for July. But a lot of these things can be done, even if you're not able to finish everything, right? Like, let's say you have a job fair in September. Fill out everything else by August, have me take a look at it, and then when you have your job fair, you can fill that in and be good to go. All right, guys, I'm going to let you out early. Thanks for joining.